Donald Trump still remains an unindicted co-conspirator on a lot of these cases involving the unlawful electors back in 2020. Of course, we've had to deliver, Harry, some of the unfortunate news that the federal cases where Donald Trump himself is a criminal defendant, even the state case in New York with Justice Merchan, where Trump was actually convicted of 34 separate felony counts, given that, there's all these unfortunate norms and Supreme Court ruling and all these things, the Department of Justice policy, that Donald Trump really can't be prosecuted as a sitting president-elect or president. Doesn't work. But there are all these cases that still involve co-conspirators where Donald Trump will remain an unindicted co-conspirator. And that presents an interesting question. You and I were talking about this before we recorded. Like when Nixon was an unindicted co-conspirator, at that moment in time, that shocked the conscience that a president could be an unindicted co-conspirator. And then the cases, when you deal with unindicted co-conspirators, it deals with discovery and a lot of information about the behavior of the unindicted co-conspirator. Although right now, I think it's probably different times where if a Watergate were to happen right now, it seems like it would perhaps maybe be written about in some national security magazine, but perhaps not even make anywhere in New York Times. What Watergate would be like, wait, that's a crime if that were happening today. It's unfortunate, but give us, Harry, the historical context for what this is, the fact that he still is an unindicted co-conspirator, and what that uniquely presents going forward.
It is crazy, Ben. So first, let's just talk about the false electors. In some states, Arizona is where he's an unindicted co-conspirator. The AG has made clear they are going forward. So these guys are criminal defendants for having brazenly asserted and falsely that they were the official electors for the president, that being Trump when Biden had won. And in other states, there's over 40 false electors of different stripes in terms of liability who not only aren't standing trial, but have been elected to higher office, state office, in this last November go-around. All of them were opposed by non-MAGA types. All of them won. Now back to Trump. You mentioned Merchan, and he just today, he was going to issue a ruling on Trump's new trial motion, going to sentence him on the 25th. He put it all off after a motion from Bragg and Trump talked about the unprecedented circumstances, and they certainly are. We've never had a elected president who's been a clear felon. And it's not clear to me what Merchan is going to do. Remember, he put off the sentencing itself till after the election, and he may be fixing somehow to acquiesce in a just closing up shop, even post-conviction, even post 34 counts and being on the precipice of sentencing. The logical thing would be he goes ahead, sentences him, and then whatever intervening principle says you can't have him served now or whatever takes priority, and that's that. But you're going to see Trump really aggressively try to make it go away. Say something like just having it out there with one of the 50 states kind of impinges on his freedom of movement and executive action as a president. But back to these other cases and the example of Nixon. First of all, it does underscore that while Trump has had a phenomenal run of luck and political triumph, legally he has very large but not unfettered power. And we're talking about just today, Mark Meadows, the Supreme Court turned down his appeal. So if and when the Fulton County, remember that one case, ever comes around, he's got to be in state court where Trump can't pardon him. Same for, some of these cases involve the local false electors, the state officials who stood up to say that, we're the presidential electors when they weren't, but also the people who exhorted them to, the Rudy Giuliani's and Jenna Ellis's and Ken Chesebro. That is going to play out even as Donald Trump assumes the office of the most powerful place in the land, in the world, really. So it is funky, but it's such a stark opposition of politics on the one hand. Trump is making the arguments that somehow the verdict in the election means the American people have voted to undo all these trials, as if they could, and the law, which still is unvindicated, well, as you say, all around the bend, but on these state cases, it's still really tricky. And I don't know what arguments there are out there that the courts would accept for having those all be smothered.
You know, Harry, we're seeing a lot of these co-conspirators or people even in cases that are not directly related to Trump, but have relationships, like Steve Bannon's case in New York, for example, for the We Build the Wall scheme or scam, where federal prosecutors came down on Bannon for allegedly the allegations were stealing or taking money from the GoFundMe. I think some of the other co-conspirators actually even pled guilty in the federal case, but Donald Trump pardoned Steve Bannon. So Bannon got off on the federal case. Then New York State prosecutors filed against Bannon there. And, you know, Bannon, like a lot of these other kind of Trump co-defendants, even like the Giulianis of the world in civil cases, like, I don't know what they think that he's going to be able to do for them, but they all seem to be like, hey, we need to pause everything because our guy won. Yeah, exactly. And you see these, and so we won too. And then the judges are like, nah, you didn't. He did. You still are going to be held accountable. So we've seen that, right? Meadows lost. Even the Supreme Court didn't help him when he tried to remove the case to federal court. They rejected his certiorari petition. Giuliani getting
Giuliani, a world of hurt, you know, bankruptcy, civil, criminal, etc. And, you know, only so much that Trump can do. And then, of course, the big enchilada, that's not the criminal case, the civil case by New York AG, Letitia James, that's has a price tag now. It's up on appeal, and the appellate division might reduce it, but it's in the 400 millions. You know, at this point, is he going to be able to strangle that one and make it go away? You know, he's riding high, but the fact is, the guy had a pre-presidency, first presidency, and post-presidency that were a crime spree. And there's, you know, some principles that will make that go away now, but others that maybe are, you know, still remain on the landscape. So it's just such a weird confluence of law and politics.
And so I guess, you know, while everyone hears about this absolute immunity doctrine, that applies to Trump. And I guess one of the, I wouldn't really call it a guardrail or a safeguard that was provided by the court, but one of the things that John Roberts said, which to me was like, really seriously, was when he was like, well, if people in his circle commit the crimes, they could still be held accountable. So that's a deterrent for people who still engage in crimes with him. You know, I don't know about that, Harry.
That's going to be the next frontier, right? But also remember, this immunity argument, let's assume it's correct that it would apply against state court. Nevertheless, what's going on in Arizona, Trump the candidate, not Trump the president, pushing on state electors where a president has no role. Probably the most likely outcome there is that Trump is not immune for that conduct. And so even if Arizona were to elevate him to, you know, conspirator, indicted defendant status, you know, they wouldn't be able to go forward perhaps in the next 4 years, but that's different from saying he's immune. I don't think he would be immune for all this false elector stuff. And the Supreme Court opinion, you know, made quick work of some things like the DOJ, but here they really delved into, well, is he acting as a president? Are these his official duties? So that, again, there are different scenarios. I don't want to be too sanguine, or maybe the word would be Panglossian to, this has been a killer week for the rule of law, just a really a tragedy. Nevertheless, there are different scenarios where January 20th, 2029, there are people with handcuffs waiting for Donald Trump. That's a long way away. He'll do everything he can to smother it, but it's not clear he can really make it all dry up and go away.
Delay, the ultimate delay here. But that's life. We move forward. We do whatever we can in our spheres to make sure that we can do anything that we can do. I mean,
people know the stakes. People know the law. It's a disheartening time. I think you and I feel that, but we're trying to get up off our knock the dust off the pants, and at least play the role that you've always emphasized to me, Ben, of getting information out there, understanding what the law provides and what it should provide.
Right, Harry. I mean, look, student government elections, you can promise free lunches, recess, all 8 periods of the day, no homework, but then, you have to deliver. And so is Donald Trump going to pardon the January 6th insurrectionists? Is Donald, a lot of day one promises that
mass deportation, really? Is that our country? Yeah.
We will see. We'll keep everybody posted. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.